It's been a while since we did an Ask Me Anything, and we figured this was a really good time. Shop's actually looking kind of clean. I'm gonna answer as many questions as I possibly can, but we've asked those questions ahead of time on our other social media platforms. So you can jump down to the description down below where it'll have all the questions time-stamped, and you can jump to that if this video is already premiered. While it's premiered, I'll be answering the questions pre-recorded, which is what this is, and then answering in the chat. I'll be in person typing away. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Here we go, let's get into it. All right guys, just want to let you know that we got another line of hats out, so check out our merch store, and Teespring picked us for a 10% discount on anything on the merch store. So now's your time to get it. It's only short term, so check out if you wanted that Deboss hat because you're pissed off you still didn't get what you wanted for Christmas or for Boxing Day. Get them. We also have the Here We Go key tags, and we now have the iron-on emblems as well. So check out our merch store. All right, your number one question that everybody's been asking is, what is this magical oil that Scott's talking about? Certified Engine Technologies is by far the best oil, according to Scott. And Scott has seen it in his travels that is a good oil. I have torn down the 1.7 million kilometer 5.9, and he used Shell oil, and it also looked very good. The block cracked, but the crosshatch was still on the cylinder. So we were hoping to sit down with some engineers at Certified Engine Technologies and some lab techs and that. With COVID, none of that happened. So without saying the name of the oil, Scott wanted to try and organize all that first. That's not happening. You'll have to look him up and see where to get the oil. I don't even know. Scott has his own dealer rep bringing the oil down. We might run it in the Caterpillar, and then I've always ran Shell and everything else. We'll probably run Shell in the 5.9 Cummins and the Silverado. And in 15 years, when the channel's still going, and you're still interested in swaps that we're doing, we might be able to tear down both engines again and open them up and see, oh yes, this one is better than the other. What it comes down to is change your oil. When you're paying good money for oil and it has a reputable name already, it might be slightly better at one thing than somebody else. I don't think they have there's one miracle oil that is magically going to save your engine or fix your engine or replace steel where it's worn down. Change your oil, keep up on your maintenance, and that is what it comes down to. So sorry it took so long to get that out. We were just trying to figure stuff out in the background that didn't work. I'm going to blame COVID, because COVID is a really nice thing to just blame everything on. Okay, so my daughters don't really watch the channel. My wife, I tell her which videos she might be interested in. There's some technical videos that she has no interest in whatsoever. If it's funny or anything like that, I say, hey, this was a good video, you might want to watch it, and she watches it. The balance between YouTube and family is pretty good, only because there's two of us on the channel. I'm in front, Aaron's behind the camera. I can't speak for Aaron's family life because he's got a completely different setup that works for him. But because I'm not filming during the day and editing at night, that worked out for us right from the start. If you are wanting to start a YouTube channel and I think you can do it single-handedly, you can, but you have to sacrifice something, and you're sacrificing time. That's time with your family to make a living on YouTube. So we've progressed, maybe not as fast as other channels, but we have a very good, stable life at home, which is extremely important. I also want to say too, we've had comments like, where's your wife and where's your kids? You will never ever see them on the channel. There's nothing that an automotive diesel channel can host that will benefit them or you. We're watching the content for the projects in the shop, and family life is 100% separate from YouTube. So that keeps them safe, and they don't want to be in the spotlight, and I don't want them to be in the spotlight. And it's good to mentally keep the two worlds separate. We have our own things to talk about at the dinner table and the breakfast table, and we don't need to mix all of that together with YouTube all the time. It's exciting sharing the new perks of what's happening in our YouTube life, and that's good. Yeah, it's good talk, but it doesn't have to be everything, and it's not. I lived in Hichtem and Cowdom, which is close. The biggest city would be Ballsworth, I guess. I still have some friends out in that area. It's a small, like all of Holland fits in Lake Erie, I guess, and they have the same amount of people as Canada, just in a tiny spot. So everything is pretty close to each other, but I think it was, Friesland's more north, and it was right on that edge. I didn't realize that Friesland was like the Quebecers of Canada, where where you think everybody can understand you and they don't. And you're like, oh, you guys are those ones wearing wooden shoes still, like get with it. so I am fluent in Fries still. I've probably lost quite a bit. I can understand Dutch, but I can't speak Dutch because I throw too many Frisian words in there and then they look at me like I'm an idiot. I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to make a video in Dutch. Like, we went to church here and they'd have all Dutch sermons, and why would you do that? This is Canada. We speak English. Now you're leaving out a big chunk of the audience. I would like to go to Holland and work on something in the Netherlands, and we'd be speaking Dutch then because that would be relevant then. But just to appease a small portion doesn't really make much sense. What I do know is that everybody who lives in Holland can understand English. I do hate the salt and snow of Canada. I used to like the snow. I don't mind it now because the pace kind of slows down a bit. But now it's cold. Even with the shop, I have nice heated floors. I'm not complaining, but I could do without the snow. I could move. I can see myself being a snowbird.
In Texas?
In Texas, I could move to Texas. I like Texas. I went to Texas a few times, helped out with some relief with our church after Allison, and I think it was Allison twice. The cat's great. She's migrated more into a house cat. She's outside. She's still hunting. As you can see, when I took the door off, she was hunting behind there. She's great. I think we're looking for a dog, another dog. We're actively looking, but I've had 3 or 4 dogs, and the most I've ever paid for is $75. Dogs are like $3,000 online right now because everybody's stuck home and with COVID. So they think that they need a friend, but all those friends will be coming up for sale in about a year when everybody realizes they want to go on vacation again, and pets are actually kind of a pain. So I like training the dogs from a puppy, but that's not to say we can't train afterwards. So maybe a dog is in the future. I used to play some video games. The last game that I was into was Prince of Persia on Xbox. And I have the original Xbox upstairs. I have the original Nintendo downstairs in the basement, and I have the original PlayStation, and that's it. So, and an original Game Gear, but I do not play video games. Luckily, my hobby is my business, so when I have spare time, I just go back in the shop. Only motorcycle I've driven was in Africa, and I got into trucks. If I haven't told you the story about my S10, I worked with a lady at a greenhouse who said that there was a knock in her engine, or a terrible sound in her engine. I was just getting into mechanics at my high school, so we towed it there. My teacher listened to it, said it needs an engine, we're not doing it here, get it out of there. So my boss at the time in greenhouses allowed me to swap the engine there. So she bought another S10. I pulled the 2.4 liter out of it and put it into hers. Then I bought my buddy's S10 for $100, and I put those 2 trucks together, painted it, and I had my first truck, and that only made sense. Everything that I did for throwing stuff in the back, going to the drive-in and putting the couches in the back of the truck and seeing the drive-in that way, all those experiences led me to always having a truck. I was always hauling stuff and pulling stuff. I bought my house when I was 19. I needed the house or the trucks for that, so I moved up to half-ton trucks after that. And I've always been into trucks. To get into diesels, the only reason I got into the diesels, that first 5.9 Cummins that I pulled out and put into my truck was the first real diesel that I owned, and been into that ever since then. You know the story from there. I've never tried rock crawling or off-roading. I like off-roading in the quads. But honestly, I like going through the mud more than I do climbing up the rocks. We go up north through the government lands where it's all, the hydro wires there, it's all rock and cliffy by Ardbeg. And I enjoy trying to make it through a mud hole 10 times more than sightseeing and slowly bouncing around rocks. I imagine it'd be the same for cars and trucks, or for trucks. I haven't tried it, so I can't say for sure. I'd like to try it, but I wouldn't build a specific rock truck just to do it, and then realize that I like going fast in a race car better. Nobody's stopping in anywhere for a long time. Right now, because of COVID, absolutely nobody can stop by. I still don't prefer random people stop by, because I have friends that randomly stop by, and I have a lot of friends, and I want to give them the time of day, but that can't work. So I would like to schedule more meetups once all the COVID is gone, and then I'd like to see your projects in a parking lot somewhere. But my family is also at home, so I don't want random people I don't know coming into the shop, and I don't want to stop every hour and talk to somebody for 20 minutes because they just happened to drive by and wanted to stop and shoot shit. I want to work and I want to get my projects done. There's a time for hanging out, and that is not between 7 and 6, which is time in the shop. We do, however, want to see your viewer builds, and we will be doing another international quarantine car show this year. We did one last year, and that was kind of a spur of the moment because we were just setting up our website. It was a great success. We had half a dozen other YouTubers judging different categories, and that was nice to open it up to any category because you could submit it to whatever you want. We're going to make it even bigger this year. We're hoping to add some military vehicles and propellers, so airplanes and boats, and that way we get a little bit of everything. I want to see your projects, and that is a good way to post it. We had a great showing. I think 4,000 people signed up to submit their projects and vote for their friends on our website. So we'll be doing that again. We're talking to the other YouTube channels we have in mind right now, and we'd really like to do that way. I also want to see them at car shows and events and stuff like that. I'd love to crawl over it. Also be up on our Instagram when we do start traveling again. And we found a project. We'd like to drive it home. When you're up on our Instagram, you can see where we are. We'd like to stop in and do that on the ride home. But as for people coming in, not in the next year anyway. I've never thought about me being anything but mechanic or YouTuber. Maybe construction. The issue is that Canada's climate sucks for construction. It's very hard on your body, cold-wise and heat-wise. So we're not smart enough to have siesta to slow down when it's actually like 105 degrees out. We just truck through and drink some more water. So I would be the guy on the cell phone running a crew of probably half a dozen to a dozen guys, which is where I was heading when I got out of construction. There's just a lot of headaches with employees and that. It's hard to find good help right now. If you are looking for a job, I still do not have a doubt in my mind that you can get a job anywhere in a physical trade, whether it be bricklaying or construction or concrete. There's a very high turnaround and actually really well paying jobs for the construction side. So I would probably still be putting up dairy barns and pole barns in the area. As a teen, I grew up on a farm, so we had chores right from I was heavy enough or strong enough when I was 7 to pick up a hay bale and feed the calves and give them milk. That was our first chores. I had chickens and I sold all the eggs, and I generally bought Legos with that and saved that money. From there, I went to construction when I was 14 because the guy thought I was 16. Almost fired me before I started because I was older than I looked, or I was younger than I looked. I just barely made it through that summer. I had to bike to his work, and the physical labor. If we had to drive to work, by Friday I'd fall asleep in the truck on the way to the job site. But he didn't fire me. From there I went to greenhouses. I did cucumbers and roses. I did the cucumbers for a great boss, and I would have kept working for him, but he sold his greenhouses. From there I went to flowers at Rosa Flora. Everybody needs to work in a greenhouse to realize how much better every other job is. I went back into the construction with the same guy that I worked with when I was 14, we put a fence around a mechanic shop, and the owner came out and said, I want that guy to work for me. And the construction guy said, yeah, go there because there's a better opportunity there than working for me. So I got my apprenticeship, I got my license, then I still worked for that construction guy. Actually ended up dating his daughter for a while, a couple years. So when I took time off from the shop, I would just work for him. So I would collect vacation pay, and then I'd work for him on the side too, yet make an extra $1,000 in the week. So that worked out fantastic. Then from there, I went on my own. I did construction and mechanics on my own, and then more mechanics now. That's actually a really interesting question, because I do like working for myself, and I don't mind working for other people either. It's a nice trade-off. When I was working in construction, I had 2 other guys that I worked with. They were brothers, I had a nice crew. So when we did barns, they would work for me. They would show up with their tool belt. I would take care of the permits, the payments, all the technical stuff, ordering and paying for materials, and they would just show up. Then they would specialize in building houses, so I would work for them building houses. I would show up with the tool belt, and they would take care of all the paperwork, all the final framing inspections and everything, and that was really nice. I love working for myself in the shop, but that's not to say I did not have fun at Newport for 2 weeks, driving there, having a normal job, hanging out with guys, not being in charge of everything. They told me what to do. I was at the bottom of the totem pole, and I really enjoyed that as well. Not that I could do that every day and punch a clock every day, but it's nice to mix it up once in a while. I will always be self-employed. That's interesting. I was thinking about that the other night when I read it, and I would tell myself to take better care of my body. My arthritis in my ankle actually is pretty bad. It's starting to hurt all the time now, and that's because I jumped off a forklift, rolled my ankle, and wanted to impress my boss, and I kept working. That was the worst thing I ever did. Should have went home, had a smoothie, because I wasn't old enough to drink yet. and that is the only thing that I would do different, is take care of my body better. So we're gonna be talking about that a little later, on what we can do to do that better. But other than that, just to soak in each stage. Don't be in a rush to go from single to dating to married to employed or self-employed, whatever. Have those goals and do it, but enjoy each stage. Each stage comes with a different set of responsibilities and freedoms, and you need to enjoy those at the same time. If I go back to 16-year-old me with my S10 driving around, and my only care in the world was making sure that the insurance was paid on the truck, that was a beautiful time in my life. But that's not where I'm at right now, with a lot more responsibilities, but different freedoms. So take it all in and enjoy that chapter in your life right now until you turn the next chapter, and then enjoy that. Don't get hung up on where you were or where you want to go. Just enjoy where you are right now. Unlimited funds and money is basically what I'm doing now. The GTO, the C10, the F350, and then we have one other project that's coming up. I don't think we'll talk about it in this video segment yet, but we've got the next project in mind. It's super cool, a little bit different again, but I'm very excited about that one, so you'll have to stick around for that. Since we started YouTube, I've gotten better with learning, with being extremely happy with what I have and committing to finishing what I start.
But if somebody came along with $1 million and said, what do you want to build?
If somebody came along with $1 million and said, what do you want to build? It's like, give me like 200,000 so I can finish my project, and then we'll decide. I have not thought that far, honestly. And if we did, it's kind of in the realm, like, it sucks. If I tell you guys what I would do, then you're like, oh, you guys got to do that. You got to do that. When's that going to happen? And I'm not that far yet. So just exactly what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, it's not a Cummins powered McLaren.
No. Least favorite would be the Mercedes, because I went about that wrong. I believe that I was more capable before I had the knowledge, and I would do things different. We're fixing up the stuff that I would change, but those projects that just fight you tooth and nail in every single step. to the point where one bolt to loosen takes like 40 minutes because it's in such an awkward, weird spot. Your hands are sore and tight, it's got leaks, and now parts that I've ordered are failing that had nothing to do with me. I don't know what it is, that one is just not fun mentally to work on. My most favorite, probably my first S10, because I was learning my appreciation for mechanics and enjoying that, and seeing the first project come together and on the road and finished, and saying that that's a truck that I built. That was back when I was 15. So probably that one. Projects, and it's not even cars. My house, love the way the house turned out. There's that barn I showed on Instagram. That guy came out with a picture in a catalog saying, I want you to build this barn for me. Really nice porch with wooden beams, the checkered windows and the sliding doors. It turned out exactly the way he wanted it to from a magazine picture. So that was super cool doing that. Very limited to budgets of customers to build it the way that I would do it compared to them. Like we built a house, and it's like, oh, you could do so many cool things with Cat 5 wiring and the computer to run lights and stuff. Like, nah, we don't need that. And the imagination, it seems kind of bland for that. So my project's favorite ones are probably house, that other garage, the S10, this row of cars. It's the most complicated. What's the most complicated build? Well, I would think that the 30-year-old German car with diesel turbos put in the back seat, with the LS drivetrain in the front, the complete standalone computer system monitoring all 4 turbos and everything else, that's the most complicated. I love the car. The car is a constant evolution of my ideas and whatever. But the issue with that car is that I can't sleep when I'm working on it. I get into the project and I'm physically tired, and I know when to stop before I break something or don't put something together right that's gonna cost me thousands of dollars. So I go in the house because I know that the next day I'm gonna have to redo everything that I did anyway. But then I can't sleep because I'm still thinking about the car. So it's 2, 3 in the morning watching stupid stuff on TV just so I can turn my head off and catch a few hours of sleep before going back to it again the next day. So I have to work on it in stints and then walk away and then come back to it. It's not hard to register vehicles. The issue is now that all of our insurance companies that we work with watch the channel, and they're like, so you want to put that Mustang on the road? We know that it's got a souped up V8 in it, so now your insurance is 3 times what you'd expect it to be, and that's not fun. So our insurance sucks. It's a license to steal. That's not right. Anyway, I don't think I'd sell anything. I might sell my Silverado down the road because the single cab has its limited uses now with the family. It's going to be a toss-up whether I love the F350 more than I love my Silverado, but I can't sell it as it is right now because the body's rotten, the engine's tired, the transmission is slipping, the clutch is acting up, the heater core rotted away in the cab because I didn't change the coolant enough. Change your coolant, guys. Once I build it, the cab and box are heading off to paint in a few weeks. Even though I got them from down south, it's banged up like crazy, pile of scratches on it, so might as well refresh it. And then good big plans for that truck. Once that's done, I might consider selling it if I don't use it enough. But all the other projects, I'm building stuff that I would enjoy driving. I want to prove that it works, and I want to take it to shows and have them available to be in booths. If Toyo wants the Audi in a show later this fall, absolutely take it. The GTO was in Power Tour and a bunch of other places. I want to be able to have that available. You can have stuff, but it's not even stuff, it's time. That's one thing you don't get back is time. And I can look at that and I can enjoy that GTO knowing I got 1,800 hours into that car. I could probably build my house and shop 3 times in the time it took me to build the GTO. So to just sell the GTO and forget about that, that's 1,800 hours gone. Doesn't matter what the paycheck is when that's done. It's the thought of knowing that that is something that I built and from the ground up, and to know that that's time that I spent. That's time that I spent with Hoogie, sourcing parts and whatever else. And those are the memories that are more important than a cash paycheck at the end. I do think that if we built different projects or did different types of videos, that we could maybe get more views and more subscribers, but I don't care. I'm building what I want to build and doing what I enjoy. And this is what I would do in my retirement if I was retired. So I'd like to think that I'm retired. I just make videos of what I would do in my retirement. There is the Audi is kind of big. We took it to the track, and like you're listening to every noise, and you're listening to trying to feel every vibration, and where's that smoke coming from? Is it smoking because something's broken, or is it just burning off some residual oil that was spilt on exhaust or whatever? So there's that. But like my Silverado, I did the swap probably 8-9 years ago, and I'd hop in it and drive. I know that it's making a noise that I can't drive it to Florida now, but up to 3 months ago, I would hop in it and drive it straight to Florida. Would not care at all. I'm confident in my builds, but there is a certain amount of expectation when you change everything. The Cummins swap, you're taking an engine from a pickup truck and just putting it in a different pickup truck. So there's a degree of simpleness to that. The Mercedes and the Audi and the C10 are completely different because there's a lot of custom parts on there. So say like if you make the bracket for the alternator, if it doesn't line up 100%, it'll walk the belt off, and there you are by the side of the road with no belt. That is kind of annoying and kind of a pain, which is also why we're not working for customers anymore, because that does suck knowing that they're driving it around and it could break at some time. Because yeah, you completely made a new part without any computers or CAD drawings, knowing that bracket has an angle of that's 20 thousandths off, and now the belt's walking off, right? So little things like that. So there's some, but not much. When it breaks, you fix it. Yeah. That's basically it. It's trial and error. You improve upon what you did, especially the Audi, and just keep getting it better and knocking it out. And at some point, you do have to call it quits. I'd do all of them again. Like GTO took a long time, but I'm proud of it, and that's nice for our sponsors and companies that we work with, saying that is what caliber of build we could do. But not that I would do it again. I would definitely do it, but I don't know if I would just buy a Charger and paint it jet black and have straight paint and put a Hemi in it. It's just another muscle car. To me, that doesn't make any sense, because it's a different brand and a different make, and the seats are different, and the gauges are different. It's still the same feel, same sound that we've got from that. So that's why we're jumping around from 60s muscle car to 2000s muscle car to lowered muscle truck to lifted pull truck. We've got a little bit of everything, and I love the diversity of that, to be able to go in the shop and say, I want to drive that. Same difference between driving a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. It's like, yes, they're different and they sound a little different, but it's still the same car. Low, fast, high revving cars that, do you really know the difference afterwards? Yeah. It's the same experience. And I want those different experiences. So you guys want to see the projects, and you say project cars, but the shop was always a project too. So we're in one of our last stages. I got the wood up on the walls. We're starting to put tools on the wall and get more organized. I've done rewired a bunch of stuff so that the plugs are in better spots and that. Better lighting again. And now we're getting into building the workbenches, which will be coming up. But the shop is a huge project that has actually taken me 10 years to get to where I want it, and it's almost done. So that's a really nice feeling. We've got, I've come here. When I had my first house in the front corner of the lot, I pulled down a lot of barns and used all the barn board for trim, and I really like that look. So kind of got that feel going in our welding area on the outside. So I cut the TV into the wall, so it spins around so you can watch it from the inside too. I got an old window that we found in a barn. I want to trim this nicely yet, so that you don't see any of the cut wood, but I'm out of old barn board. So put like a nice header in here and then have some sort of door yet that I can open. More than likely the door will go straight up. And then if we're grinding and cutting and whatever, doing whatever, then we can close that off to the rest of the shop. We got the tools much more organized here. We'll do a full shop walk around when it's done, after the benches and stuff are built. I'll talk about what I would do different, how the shop is laid out, and how it's the most functional for me, and what you might want to do when you're building a shop. The C10, I haven't been able to touch it as much for the last little bit, so it's running. The front cab mounts are done. I still have to do the back ones. In all honesty, I have about 3 weeks of welding to do on the cab before everything is done. That is all the runners on the box. There's bent out steel that I cut off. These little guys, so I got to do them on the front and the back, because this was like a 10 or 12 foot box, so we cut that down to 9 feet. So I need to weld those back on again. I need to make the running boards. Thinking back with phasing the U-joint and that, when I'm driving it down the road, I do need it to stay at a specific height, because otherwise I'm going to start getting vibration in the drive shafts and that. So we got a proper air ride system that will keep it at a set height. It's running. Once we have that installed, I can do my drive shaft, and then we can actually move the truck. But the biggest thing is the 3 weeks of welding that I need to do to finish up the cab. Soundproof it, seal up all the leaks, and then mount the front clip and everything to it. Front bumper, back bumper. Would I take it to SEMA? Well, absolutely. Only if I can drive it there. It is not going to be the show truck that is at SEMA. If somebody wants it in their booth, absolutely, we're all for that. But right now, it's still more of a driver than I'm more worried about it driving than I am about looking pretty. The welds and stuff, we did a nice job for it, but like Vince said too, when we welded the headers, he's like, you should be capping the headers and putting argon in the middle, so my welds are that much nicer. And when you get to that point, it's not fun driving it anymore, because it's gonna get dirty. One rain shower and the whole engine bay is dirty. Pop the hood on your car and take a look, and that's built by engineers to try and keep the water out, and it's still dirty and filthy, right? So unless you don't drive it, it's not a SEMA truck. And I don't want to spend hours and hours polishing it and whatever. I can do that with the GTO. I want to drive it, so I can take it to SEMA if somebody wants it there, but only if I can drive it there. I am not towing this car or I'm not towing this truck to Vegas. Goals for this are to get it driving and moving and functional. If we do something to the engine or the engine's not holding up, we'll build the engine and transmission later. But it's just going to stay stock for now. Whatever tune that Alex put in it from Billet Performance Manufacturing, I imagine it's going to be somewhere around 350, 400 horse and somewhere around 700 to 800 foot-pounds of torque as it is right now. And that's plenty. That's a lot of fun. Horsepower is heat, and we have a lot of heat. Exhaust is close to the cab. We're just going to roast ourselves out of the cab. So I would love to do power tour in it. That makes sense. If we don't do power tour this year, which is not likely, we'll probably go up north at some point, but still need to do that in the GTO. GTO is going to be first, then the C10. This is my favorite project, but it's going to have to go on hold for a little bit, only because my Silverado's acting up and I don't have a truck to pull anything around. So our F350 is going to get pushed ahead of the Duramax, and I did tell you guys you won't see any videos on the F350 until the Duramax is running, and that's because I want you guys to know that the C10 will get finished. So I'm not going to abandon it. It's not undone. It's running. It is beautiful interior. Just to show you guys, I'm over that hump. I need to do all the finishing stuff on it, but I do need a truck to be able to pull our Audi around. So the cat's all done. We've got, we're going to be going onto the wiring next to still get it running. which is what I said in the last video, and then we'll pull the cab off and get going on that. Before I pull the cab off on that, I'm finishing up the GTO, and again, 90% done. It runs, the engine's in it, the firewall's all done. If you guys saw the air conditioning video, I need to put the transmission in it. So I just need to mount the shifter, then I can put the transmission in it. I need to shorten the drive shaft because the new transmission's a little bit longer. But we have all the parts for this one, and this one is getting done. This one, the Mercedes has a couple leaks. That one's in the house garage, getting pulled in tomorrow, and then we're fixing those leaks. The Audi is as done as it's going to be for a little bit, running, moving, driving. Next for this will be a tune on the dyno, and we're going to be putting the air filter to the front of the windshield, but we don't need to do that for the dyno. Once the dyno has time, it's an Elmira, and I actually have a truck that I'm able to pull it there. We'll get this on the tune. One of the questions was, is the Audi everything that I want it to be? And the answer is yes, right now. And as soon as I get used to it, it's not. That's what a project car is. I need to get seat time, I need to get better at driving, and then get used to this setup. Once I'm happy with the setup or I break it, we'll upgrade it. We're gonna start at the 4.8. If the turbos can handle more air, we'll go to a 5.3, 5.7, 6.2, 6, whatever, until we break something else and then go from there. Talked to Cletus, got the invite to go to Freedom Factory whenever the borders open up. Unfortunately, I don't think that's gonna happen until the fall of 2021. So don't hold your breath, don't keep asking. Cletus was the one that at Project Car Challenge came over, went out of his way to say, cool car, like you need to get a hold of Holly. I got to take a ride in Leroy, do some burnouts with him and Leroy, super nice guy. So I shoot him a text randomly once in a while, and he says, yeah, car looks great. As soon as it's ready, as soon as the borders are open and you're ready, we'll head down to Freedom Factory. So we're hoping to do CSCS, which is a Canadian Sport Compact Series, which is at Toronto Motorsports Park. And then that's the unlimited class, I guess, because it's not really in any category other than the hell did you do? So we'll have some fun driving that. We'll be taking it to Mossport and doing some driving around there. Other than that, we had a bunch of shows lined up. We had the Audi show in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and a bunch of others. But again, border closed. All the driving will be locally around here at racetracks. Scotto knows about it, big Audi fan. I have texts from Scotto, and as soon as the borders open, we're heading over to Hoonigan's. We'll drag it across the country and drive to the other side of the continent. So Scotto's excited about the car. Who else? Rob Dom. We've talked to Rob Dom. There's no real comparison with Rob Dom. He's got 1,200 horsepower, we're half of that. But I do believe that if we were to drive around a track for 20 minutes, I'd be able to last longer than Rob in that aspect. I do, however, want to race Rob Ferretti. So at some point we'll get something together. Him and the Corvette, I think we're a good match that way, even though he doesn't think we are. I know that his car is going to have a hard time keeping it together for 10-20 minutes as well. So I'll be hounding Rob Ferretti, but lots of good stuff coming up with the Audi. Not your typical stuff. We're gonna have some fun with it. It's gonna break. It is not a reliable car in the sense that we can beat on it all season long and not have any issues, because there is no race car that does that. NASCAR uses a new car every race. So that's 3-4 hours of running and they're done with it. So keep that in mind. Yes, it's going to break, and then we will fix it and we'll improve on it and then go from there. So that series is out right now on everything that we did to upgrade it to the best of our abilities, and when that stuff breaks, then we'll upgrade it again. There's a lot of comments saying, why didn't we do the 5-cylinder and why is it an LS? It's because it was never a 5-cylinder. It was a 91 V8, so it was a 32 valve V8. And we are in Canada. I've never seen another car like this other than his parts car. Never seen one in somebody's backyard. These parts are not easily available. So LS's or the 4.8s or the 5.3s are readily available. We can probably build a dozen LS's for the cost of one 5-cylinder. And that being said, we've already blown up one severely. So we're already ahead of the game. We're gonna build another LS. There is a lot of aftermarket support for LSs, and there is for the 5 cylinders as well, over across the ocean. And to bring the parts over, and with the euro where it is, it doesn't make sense for us to do it. It does make sense for you guys to do it, but not for us. When we entered the Project Car Challenge, we did not have a car and we did not have any money. We used our entire month's income just to pay the entrance fee to get into it, and we still didn't have a car. So knowing that YouTube is YouTube, we were racing up against McLarens, we were racing up against Lamborghinis, well-built cars with big budgets. And when you're talking about a race car, a budget for a race car is not anything under 6 figures. This one is still under 6 figures because we're still having fun with it and making work with what we've got. Knowing that there was no way that we could compete with bolt-on parts, we thought the only way to stand out would be to build something off the wall. So this is as off the wall as we could think of while still being somewhat functional. The water pump let go because it was too much work pushing all the coolant all the way to the back and to the front. So we fixed that with the electric water pump at the back, and that's working much better. But Justin Bell said, I can't believe how well that car actually handles. We did aim for a 50-50 weight distribution, so that's why we moved all the weight to the back of the car. The LS is actually 70 pounds lighter than the 32 valve V8 that's in there. And we built a well-handling car by accident. Those turbos we put on the dyno, on the engine dyno, just to see if that would be a good fit. We got some really good numbers off that video. If you want to watch Will 4 turbos boost an LS, skip to about 15 minutes in when the tuning started to get figured out. And even Andy, who is a very reputable engine builder, said, I build engines to these numbers, but it costs $20,000. We did it for $800, a junk engine with a cam and springs and a couple, I think we paid 150 bucks for the one turbo and 300 for the other. So we built it to kind of stand out. We stood out enough that we got Holly's attention, and Holly said, your car is a piece of junk, but we like you, and we like where the direction of the channel is going, so we're investing in you as much as we are in the car. And this car was actually the best thing that we ever did. It's gotten us in front of a lot of people that helped us out with a lot of cars, and we couldn't have done it without them. Especially being in Canada, the race market isn't what it is in the United States. All the parts are made in US. There's none that comes from Canada. So it costs us a lot more. So basically, if you were to buy a camshaft for $200 off the internet, it's $400 to my door in Canadian dollars. So keep that in mind, that we're in a kind of a different ball game than parts stores and parts suppliers down in the States. So that being said, we built the original version 1.0 with a lot of used parts that we just found laying around. The brakes are used, the intercooler's used, the rad's used, all the piping's used. And we're slowly evolving into something that's going to do much better. Right now, dead of winter, foot of snow outside. This one runs, moves, drives, and is doing awesome. Mustang is all done, other than just the radio. Once we put the radio in it, we're getting insurance on it, and then we're driving it just through the tunnel with this obnoxious exhaust so we can get some sound before and after. And then, I don't know if we even need to, because I told Lyles I want a nice quiet exhaust on this, because those are the mufflers that we'll be putting onto the Bronco. And he said, you know what would be nice with really nice quiet mufflers is some cutouts, which we would like to install on your car. So there's really no point in taking it through the tunnel, because we can take it through the tunnel with the cutouts. It'll probably be the same sound. Those mufflers, I think, are just hollow cans. I don't think there's anything in it. It's just a very expensive hollow can that says Borla on it. Yes, we did get a Bronco, but it's not concrete. He is waiting for paperwork. We've spoken for it. He won't take our money until he has the paperwork, but we found a very reasonable price Bronco in original condition with no rust and a lot of dents, like a lot of dents. So I didn't want to paint it, but we will absolutely paint it. We've got a really nice tan interior that's kind of cracked, but we can get the replacement dash parts and door panels for it, and we'll get it reupholstered, and we will paint it, but I don't want to deal with the rust in the floors and the quarter panels and that. So we have a Bronco. It is in Oregon, and we'd like to drive it home. Same way we did with the F350. That was an epic road trip, but with the borders closed, he's all right with storing it for us for a bit. He's got storage. If that ever runs into an issue, then we'll just have to ship it home and then go from there. In the meantime, we're going to drive this for the summer. Plan was always to bring this to Ford Fest, have some fun with it, burnout contest and whatever else. We're still hoping to be able to do that in the fall. Hopefully we'll be taking this to LS Fest in September, and then we'll be taking this to Ford Fest in October. So that is the plans to meet up for any of our American friends down in the States. If you watch my Ford video again, I never really worked on the Ford cars. My era of Ford distaste was the trucks, the 5.4 liters, the 3 valves, the 6.0s, the 6.4s. They were all junk, they were all garbage, and that I worked on nothing but those at the old shop, and I just hated every minute of it. That is my distaste for Ford. The fact that they designed those engines with 4 head bolts per cylinder is a joke. They're throwing more boost at it than ever before, and they thought that 4-cylinder head bolts would be enough. So those I know were conscious decisions, knowing that would fail, but they did it anyway. And again, if you want to know why I hate Ford, it's because that video, I explain it all and why I hate Ford. This truck is definitely a Ford, and we're taking most of the Ford pieces out of it. I love the look of it, but the Caterpillar and the Allison would be just as good in the Silverado. This one drives amazing. Like, it's super comfortable to drive. The turning radius sucks. It's gonna be terrible, especially we bought a 28-foot covered race trailer. So to be able to drive around parking lots and hotels is gonna be a little trickier than it was before. So now we have to factor that in. Our mistake for buying big tires, man, look at them. Like, it's not gonna be the truck if it's got dinky little tires on it. So basically when Jose posted the Instagram picture of it, I said, I want that truck exactly looking like that. I don't want it higher, I don't want it lower, I want that. And once I have it in my head, then that's what we aim for. So Jose was gracious enough to change the 16.5-inch rims over to the 17s. And then Toyo brought us home on the open country. So with that, it was super smooth and straight. Funny story, we're driving home through Indiana. I have insurance to drive whatever vehicle with my garage plate. I think there is restrictions to the garage plate, like distance, but the nice thing is that most of our American friend police officers don't know the specific regulations to a plate. I don't have the plate anymore, but we're driving through Indiana, sun's going down, the perfect temperature, the windows down, cruising along, not paying attention because the tires are a lot bigger than what's supposed to be on there, the speedometer's way off. So we were driving through a construction zone, which was a brand new paved road, as smooth as glass. The lines weren't painted on it yet, but everything else was done. There was no construction workers on there. So I'm just cruising along, and then I see a cop pulling over, going the other way. I'm like, oh shit. So I pull over to the side right away. I don't even like wait for him. I'm like, he's pulling me over. Pulls me over. He's like, yeah, you're doing like 60 miles an hour at a 40. I'm like, I'm sorry, officer, tires are too big. He's like, let's see your papers. And I'm like, so I hand the papers over. But we bought the truck and it was in Aaron's name, but we didn't have the bill of sale. And he's like, well, like, the truck isn't even registered properly. Like, I don't even know if this is your truck. So he goes, you're speeding. I don't think you have the right insurance, because I had my slip with me and I showed it to him, but I didn't have my plate with me. So he's like, I don't think you have the right insurance. You're speeding. You can't even prove that the truck is yours. And he goes, I need to tow your truck. So we're shitting bricks. Like, oh crap. And then he's like, but I don't want to be a dick. He's like, I'm not going to leave foreigners stranded in a country with no vehicle to go home. So he's like,
just stop speeding and get out of my state. So that was a great story. I've been pulled over in every car and every vehicle that has anything to do with YouTube, and they've let me go every single time because they're just like, I don't know what you're doing, just leave. Plans for this truck are, we're just gonna put the cat and the Allison in it and the interior in it. So we're gonna make the proper brackets for the back seats. We'll probably need the door panels as it is right now. We are going to put that dash in there, but we might have a better setup for gauges rather than taking it out of the 6.4. So if we can get some nice gauges working, then we don't have to go to that extreme. We just need to figure out the HVAC system. We can probably use what's already in there. We're gonna pull the cab, we're gonna put the cat in. Hopefully we don't need to do a body lift. I know that Drew Man's driveway, he did like a 2.5 inch lift, and then I looked and there's quite a bit of clearance there. So I don't, if anything, we might need 1 inch, but I don't wanna lift it too much higher because otherwise it's too much of a pain to get in and out of. We're gonna throw the cat and the Allison in there, rewire it, do that all really nice, and then basically drive it. Get our drive shafts made, get the 4-wheel drive working as is, and then leave the axles as they are for now. We do need to upgrade at some point, but then at some point it's like it's not even an OBS anymore. We could have done a body swap on a newer model, and I didn't want that either. We don't want to do anything stupid with this. We are going to keep this one stock so that it is reliable enough that we can tow the Audi all the way to California and pick something up or bring something back again. This is going to be our daily hauler. There's no point in doing compounds and seeing how much horsepower and torque we can get out of it. We need it to get us from point A to point B while still being a cool, unique truck. Cummins probably cheaper and more reliable. I didn't care about that much because we already did a Cummins swap. We want to do something different. And the cat was a good second place. I think we've bulletproofed it enough with our filters and that it should be a very good engine. Now it's funny listening to the reviews when people are talking saying, I hate that engine, piece of junk, throw it away. And then there's other people who like, I love that engine. I've got 800,000 miles on it, never missed a beat. And it comes down to maintenance. So we'll be up on our maintenance and it should be a very good truck for us. So a typical swap, I think I could do like a Cummins swap if I had all the parts into my style body truck in about 70 hours. Dropping the fuel tank, new filler neck, new fuel lines, all that other stuff, alignment, like there's a lot of stuff that you don't think about. The Silverado, now you guys know that almost a year ago I bought a cab and box for it. It's clunking now in every gear as I'm driving, and I thought it was the 5th wheel nut, but I think it's more in the clutch itself. So I've pulled some really heavy stuff with that I shouldn't have pulled, and it did it. So I get to pay for that by yanking that transmission out. So
Plus you never built that.
I never built the transmission, and I put like a medium grade clutch in there. I didn't put the cheapest one in, I didn't put the most expensive one in there, but it's acting up. So on top of that, my body's rotten, so the cab has holes in the floor now. It's got holes in the rockers. I replaced the cab corners, but I should have done the rockers at the same time. But regardless, it's getting a new cab. I have the engine tore down. Scott finished the head for me, which is actually right behind Aaron right there, 24 valve P-pump, and that is O-ringed. So he cut the grooves in there. We working with Power Driven Diesel, who built me an injection pump for it, bigger injectors, put compounds on it. They're a 369 kit with the K27, I believe. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's gonna have AFC Live in it. I've got the upgraded input shaft for the NV4500. I've got the upgraded nuts and a complete rebuild kit for the NV4500, so we'll be getting into that. And the Cummins is really good at putting oil on everything, so the frame's in really good shape. Looking to strip that all down, paint it again, and have a really nice truck when I'm done. That's why when I'm done with it, I would consider selling that one, only because that would be I'm not gonna sell it. My wife's telling me I need to sell something, and I'm telling her that I might sell the Silverado, but I won't.
End goal for that one's 500 horse, 600 horse. We can have some fun with that, snapping U-joints and stuff with that, because that will be our reliable truck. So, and anything above that is just a ticking time bomb, if you ask me. Like there's a point where you don't even realize it, but all of a sudden you wrecked $1,000 worth of tires just because you like the sound of the turbos every time you pull away. That is work that is getting transferred through the rubber, and that is wearing your rubber down. So if it's not that, it's differentials, it's drive shafts, it's clutches, and it becomes a very expensive hobby really quick. If you haven't checked out DGHD yet, definitely go over there and check out what kind of content we have there. That's Deboss Garage Heavy Duty. We split the channel up only because of the YouTube algorithms. If you're watching a video on getting a GTO restored, we don't want YouTube to recommend a combine engine replacement, because it has nothing to do with your specialized interest in what's on one channel. So it really stops people from clicking on the next video, and it helps YouTube to kind of centralize our audience to the specific things that we're aiming for on that channel. Having DGHD allows us to be more focused and giving us the opportunities to review heavy equipment that we would never be able to review if it was still on the main channel. So the crazy mining equipment, stuff like that, we've had invites to do that with COVID and all that. It becomes, it's not possible right now, but that's where that channel is going, into the heavy stuff, the crawling in and underneath all the equipment, seeing how it's built and operating some of it and having fun with that. And it just only made sense to start a whole other channel for that. I'm doing a lot more heavy equipment because Kevin is down the road, so it's his fertilizer spray that's on there. It took all summer to replace all the rusty beams underneath, and it makes for terrible video because it's horrible work. And it's a lot of work. You don't understand how bad it was underneath there. So that he's done all the beams now. We're looking at the barn that we knocked down with the excavator review and then lit on fire. That review is that barn is almost cleaned up to the point that he can walk away with that and finish bulldozing the property on that. So once he's done that, he can pull the tank off of the Terragator, and we'll hire a crane and boom this fertilizer sprayer on the Terragator. Definitely not done, and we're not done. It's not an abandoned project. It just took a lot longer than Kevin thought, and really nobody wanted to do that work. He didn't want to do the work because it was dirty and rusty and gross. Vince didn't want to do the welding because it was dirty, gross, and whatever, and I didn't want to do it either. So we all kind of did a little bit, and I'm trying to push everybody to finish it, but that video will be coming up soon. Kevin also has the transmission that's out of his articulating case. So we'll be pulling the cab off of that and pulling the transmission out of his. He was just pricing the parts on that, and it's $2,500 for each synchro. There's 4 synchros in there, and so that's $10,000, and that's just 4 synchros. So he's gonna have $20,000 into a tractor that's worth $35, $40. So he bought a burnt transmission out west. The tractor caught fire, so that transmission should be arriving in a couple weeks. We'll tear that down, fingers crossed, all the parts are good in that, and then he can replace all the seals in that, and we'll be rebuilding that. So the next DGHDs will be swapping the tank over on the Terragator and showing you all the videos over the summer of us welding the new beams in there. And then the transmission will be built in that corner right over there. So looking forward to that. And then, yeah, who knows what's after that. All right, you guys have been asking a lot about Stefan. 2020 was a difficult year for a lot of us, and Stefan had a lot of life-changing priorities, as a lot of us did. He's moved into another place that's a little bit farther away. So logistically, it's very difficult for him to come and shoot videos with us, and that's the reason why he took the Midget home as well too. So he's got his own garage and stuff there, so he can work on it there. If you want to follow him on Instagram, Blackjack Deboss, he's still active on there, so definitely bug him there for updates and encouragement as well. We need that once in a while. So he's not dead.
He's doing fine, but priorities change, and until things start to free up, then he'll get right back on the Midget again, I'm sure. He was very excited about the project. It's just logistically, it's a little more difficult this time around. So we got that two-stroke Detroit. Knowing V&R, it was in their yard. It was there for a couple months, and if it was there for a couple months later, it would now be your bicycle. So we couldn't let that thing scrap, because I do believe that engine, the oil was still very clean, and that is rare for a Detroit. So I think it's a very low hour engine. It is out back, covered up, and we have a school bus frame that we can put it in, and we have a 10-speed Eaton that can go behind it. And we'd like to do a project with that. I know that build would do really, really well on the internet, but there's no sane shop around here that would ever give me a safety that would ever put that on the road. So if we were to build it, we wouldn't know what to call it or what to VIN it. So it would be a cool project that would be fun, but completely impractical to actually ever use. So until we figure it out, we might do something with that yet. We have the pieces for it. I just at this time right now, I'm more interested in building stuff that I can drive around with my family and my friends and actually not get thrown in jail if it ever goes on the road. So the key point is to come home at night and not go to jail. I'm pretty sure that two-stroke Detroit on a school bus frame with a 10-speed and say like a 39 Studebaker cut in half and stretched to fit on the bus would catch some attention, and in a negative way. So stay tuned, we might do something with that yet, but for now, it's not on the immediate to-do list. Yes. No. Maybe. Maybe. That depends on somebody else. Whether somebody else builds that or not, we'll document it and definitely be a part of it, but I'm not gonna do it just yet. I don't have a nice platform for it. No. I wanna go to Africa and work on them there, but not right now. Would be nice, but not on the immediate horizon because they're too expensive right now. Depends on whether Kevin blows up the triple nickel. That's it. If it wasn't for COVID, we might already be building a Barra right now. But for the foreseeable future, it's not in the plans as of yet. Maybe. I want to do a Hemi swap, and I know where there's a really nice Charger, but I know it's been in the family forever. And it's got to go in something cool, but definitely going to happen. It's definitely on my radar, but not in the foreseeable future.
There's a lot of people asking for that.
Oh yeah?
Just so we're...
Yeah. I'd love to do a Hemi swap. Holly was our first sponsor, and they're getting into so many different swaps. We've got access to great companies that can definitely help make that happen. And Holly being one of them. We've got a Ford for Ford Fest, we got an LS for LS Fest, now we need something for Hemi Fest. Is it Hemi Fest? Is it Dodge Fest? I don't know. No. Maybe we can do a Jeep build with a TDI, but that doesn't depend on me. So. Unless you're saying I have a 79 Land Cruiser Ute I'd like to give to you. No. Maybe Scott's gonna be building an engine for a pulling rig. How serious that build is going and how much time is available for that build, I don't know, but he's building a C15 for a cool pulling rig. We will document it if it happens and help him out, but I'm not building one for myself personally in the foreseeable future. Not in the foreseeable future, but maybe with a 6.7. Those will go hand in hand if those happen. The OM606, we did look into pricing it and building it. Too expensive to build an NA. And the reason we bought that one is because it was cheap, and that's a good one to try and figure out to see if we can match the, put a P-pump on an OM606, and then maybe a sick drag car or something like that. I feel like the land speed record in North America could easily be broken with a proper OM606 and platform. No. Yeah, let's buy a $100,000 truck and then tear it apart and put it in a useless chassis. That's it's not very smart. Who thinks of that? I would like to do an Allison swap, just an Allison swap into like a second gen Dodge that's nice and clean. There's one down the road that I see that hasn't moved in years and years. I got to knock on his door eventually, but now's not the right time. But I'd like to at some point, just to show you guys your transmission options besides what Dodge decides to put out. That customer just came back. We did have that 3.3. But he was having such a hard time getting injectors and injector lines for it that he gave up because there was no serial number for it and nobody wanted to help him out with that. He couldn't find specific part numbers that he needed, so he ended up selling that block. Scott built a fresh short block for it. I think he built the head, but we left it separate. We were going to attach it, and then he ended up selling it to somebody who blew a 3.3, had all the missing pieces. Found my missing piece, and he ended up selling it to that. But he bought the 4BT off of the flamethrower, which is still in the flamethrower because there might be something else with that. Maybe not. Maybe. And that 4BT is going in an Escalade that's actually in the driveway. 50s? Scott has a 50 F100, I think, 50 something, I'm pretty sure. You guys are gonna yell at me saying that it wasn't an F100 back in 1950. I don't know, but he's got a 50s Ford that he is a pretty cool truck. We might do that Coyote that's all banged up that we tore down. We might rebuild that and put that one in. Not on the radar. Again, we'd have to be doing something specific from down south. Too much body rot here, none left. Great trucks, love them. Worked on them in Africa. Like the true Helixes with the little 4-cylinder diesels in it. No, the gearing is too crappy in them. They're super cool vehicles, but meant for off-road. And it'd be nice if we had, like, I go get a Deuce or something like that, but there's nowhere to drive it around here. Camino. Fastback for sure. I had a 69 V6 coupe or inline 6 coupe. Lost my shirt on that one, which does not help my Ford history. I don't know. I haven't driven all of them, and they haven't been out long enough for me to make an educated decision. Sorry. Best gas engine. I would still have to say the 5.3 pre lifter fiasco cutout. Cylinder deactivation. Again, mostly pickup trucks that I've worked on, not many cars. So that I'm the wrong guy to ask for that question because I only see the pickup trucks. So the GM 5.3 pre DOD is probably the best. Beats the 5.4 and the Hemis of the time. Fuel wise and power wise, whatever. Hemis were good, but they're not as good on fuel as the 5.3s were. Either. They're basically exactly the same. So that decision gets more on the transmission than it does on the engine. Both great engines. Depends what you want. TDI for fuel savings, the OM 606 for power. Probably, I don't know. I had the DT466 and it was fantastic to me. If you ask Kevin, it'll be 8.3, and we're both intelligent mechanics, so either one. Again, transmission. Go by transmission on that one. Yeah, we'll do a 6.0 and a 6.4. There's 6.4 in the driveway, and we were going to use that wiring harness, but I think we found a better solution rather than having to use all the Ford wiring for that. So we'll still pull that 6.4 apart, and we'll do everything wrong with either one of those. We didn't want to do too many Fords in a row. What? That's why we did an OM 606, whatever else. They all have their issues. Nothing's perfect. 6.7 after 2012. 3406 probably. C15 was good, but the 3406 is like cheap to rebuild, and I've seen some great emission numbers when I was doing the e-tests out of them, and multi-million kilometer engines. Yep, great. Nothing wrong with them. Injectors, just like everything else, put a good fuel system on it, and you're laughing. Yeah, great. Check out our check out the Versatile video where we swapped one into an old 895, 985, forget the model number, old Versatile. Good engines. Don't get the low flow. Yeah, great engine. Yeah, great engine. Yeah, great engine. Two of my buddies have them in their pickup trucks. Very happy with them. No major issues that plagued the predecessors. So yeah, I wouldn't hesitate to go into them. As I'm pulling the 12 valve out of my truck and putting in a 24 valve. Yeah, 12 valve, old reliable. Oh, Coyote. I think Coyote. It beats the Audi and the GTO. It beats the Cummins. Duramax has its own little sound. 6.0 Power Strokes do sound very nice, but they don't sound very nice for very long. So the Coyotes, I think, nice, raspy, crisp. They got that little bark. Really like the Coyotes. Best ratchets so far is still the Milwaukee cordless ratchets. They still, I picked them up 3-to-1 to the amount of a mechanical ratchet. I don't know, heavy duty mechanic. An engine hoist, like a hoist, like crane or hoist. Everything heavy duty is heavy. I think fluid film had that. I've seen good stuff with fluid film. Good stuff. Yeah, we can get into that. Again, the vehicle reviews, we did that. We asked for a Corvette. I thought that'd be kind of cool to drive around Dunville in. But they said the Corvettes are selling so good that they sold their media vehicle. They couldn't make them fast enough for people to buy them. So that was unfortunate. We had options to do some Cadillacs and stuff, but it wasn't a good fit for the channel at the time. I would love to visit Zip Ties after Slave Lake is completely dead and disassemble that IDI and just look at what's inside that. I really honestly want to know what's in those cylinders and what's laying in that oil pan. Legendary. Legend. Yeah, if you everything cold is, yeah, yes. If you can, plug it in. If not, don't rev the crap out of it until you've been warmed up to however best you can. 2-stroke oil or ATF. I usually run ATF. But that's because Lyle also gave me a skid of ATF. Lyle's a good guy. Rob Lyle. Go see Rob for all of your exhaust need and leftover ATF. Cummins swapping and everything is exactly the same. Make the engine mounts, figure out how to make it move, and give it fuel. That's it. You don't have to worry about heat or whatever else. The difficulty level is exactly the same. So best platform, I would say, is my body style Silverado, because that's why I'm doing it again. It's comfortable, it's inexpensive, it's the best seats as of yet in any platform that I've seen other than $100,000 trucks, and I would do it again. Ask me again when we're done the F350, whether we put the Cat in there or the Cummins is exactly the same thing, same weight, same horsepower, whatever. So we'll see what drives better and handles better, but comfort-wise, wind noise, all that, my Silverado is still the best platform, in my opinion. No idea. That you probably have to ask like a rock crawler for that. They're the only ones that put a real good abuse to it. For us, we use it just in the snow. When you're in the snow, you're not going fast, and occasionally to pull somebody out or grab a trailer through. But I don't abuse my four-wheel drive like a rock crawling club would, and they would tell you 100% a forum or something on rock crawling. Channel goals is honestly to continue building some of the coolest one-off vehicles that are practical on the internet, and that's all we're going for. I really don't care about views or comments or subscribers or whatever. That is, I appreciate all of you. What I want the most is viewers who genuinely care about what we're doing and are motivated to do their own stuff as well. A chance to see some of those viewer builds, whether it be our quarantine car show or in person at meets and stuff, to be able to hear people say that I've motivated them to become a mechanic, or I've had accountants say I'm done being a numbers guy, I'm starting an apprenticeship. That's awesome for me. I love every minute of that. And all I want to do is keep building the vehicles that I never thought in my wildest dreams I would ever have the chance of owning, let alone building myself. So. Right now, YouTube is really working for us. It's a lot of fun. It's a very cool career in the fact that we're making friends across the world without actually ever meeting any of them, only because we can relate through YouTube. Some really great companies that we're working with, and it's a lot of fun. Basically, YouTube right now is financing our builds the way that I would imagine building them, the way I want, which is super cool, and really enjoying it. So we are on other platforms as well, Facebook, and I think we'll expand to leaving YouTube to our very in-depth behind the scenes. This is how I built it, like the Audi and the C10 and stuff like that. But then we'll condense those down and move them over to Amazon and stuff like that. So it's more of like an hour-long show on the experience, start to finish, and driving it, that type of thing. So we're kind of planning for that. But for now, as long as YouTube's around and is still financially viable, then this is where we'll be. Yeah. Full-time YouTube as of a year ago. Aaron, the editor behind the camera, is full-time as well, and then we have 2 part-time editors that are helping us out. We were gonna try and pump up more videos instead. I don't know if you guys noticed, our videos are a bit longer and doing a little bit more in-depth and more better quality, hopefully. So hopefully you guys caught on to that. I got my license for farm equipment. Unfortunately, about 6 months before I got my actual license, they ended the grandfather program where you could pay $100 and get whatever license you wanted, whether it be automotive or truck or coach. So I have my farm equipment license, which means nothing. It tells people that I stuck it out through my apprenticeship and wrote an exam, but as for writing safeties or anything, it does not mean squat. I'm not hiring. I'm not hiring in the fact that as soon as you work for me, you become outdated in the fact that if you need to go to school and stuff, I can't send you to school. I'm training you, it's taking away from my time in doing stuff, and we travel a lot, so it's like, hey, I'm not gonna be here for a whole week. I don't know what you're gonna do because I don't trust you in here by the shop by yourself because you're an apprentice. No offense, but that's just the way it is. No hiring. Vince does all my welding. Kevin, if I need a hand, I call Kevin. I'm here to help Kevin whenever he needs it, and it's a great little thing that we got going on. YouTube is evolving very quickly, and the fact that it's not what it was 5 years ago and it's not what it was 3 years ago. It's very congested, and Aaron just told me a stat. Only 1% of YouTube creators have more than 10,000 subscribers. So put that in perspective. It's very difficult. You need to create consistent, good content weekly. And that is the only way to get it done. Bank your videos before you release them and have projects finished before you start. Basically have your project finished or very close to being finished before you're releasing videos. As soon as you start a YouTube channel says this is what I'm going to do, people stop watching. If you're thinking that sponsorships are going to look at you, they are not going to look at you unless you've done something substantial on a vehicle, meaning that it's running and driving and moving, and you probably have at least 25 to 50,000 subs. All of that is if you're going to do it from a business monetary standpoint. If you are doing it just for fun, as long as you're having fun, keep doing what you're doing. And that's what it's all about. When we stop having fun on this channel, we'll shut her down. multi-channel networks. If you're on YouTube, don't ever touch those or answer those emails. Those are just vultures. Yeah, they don't do anything for you. I'd love to meet a lot of those channels. Some of them are great fits, some of them are not as great of fits, so you won't see us with all of those channels, but the Welker boys are fantastic. I really want to go over and help them out, hop in there for a few days in some of their equipment during harvest season, help with some breakdowns and run the combines and trucks and stuff. Really want to do that. And you'll see more road trips with other YouTubers as well. So yeah, lots more collabs. They're a lot of fun. We got the invite from Cletus to go down to Freedom Factory, and all of those are a lot of fun. They don't do a whole lot for growing the channel immensely. They're just great people and a lot of fun doing it. We will get to as many places as we possibly can, but with COVID in there, 2021's out. Ask me again in 2022. No regrets. The downside is that if your friends are watching the channel, you have nothing to talk about when you actually meet up for a beer. Like me-wise, which is okay because I talk enough. It's nice to listen when we sit down with friends, but it's not like, hey Rich, what cool thing are you doing? It's like, I'm building an Audi. Yeah, I saw that video. I'm building a C10. Yeah, I watched that video too. Okay, all right, what's going on with you guys? I don't think I do anything different. I'm very happy with where we are right now. I'm happy with the way the major decisions in my life. Tape Boss, I would have done some different stuff with Tape Boss. I would have ordered less units at a higher price until I had a good buyer to buy in bulk. That was a big financial mistake. But other than that, the way we ran things and operated things and the way those things gave me my life experiences, I'm happy to do it exactly the same. Apprentice, don't bother with vocational schools or the schooling. Get into an apprenticeship and get in there as soon as you can. Then you understand whether you like it or not. There's a big difference between the hands-on and the theory behind it. And then any dealership that does diesel, get in there, learn, and stay current. The issue with me is that every day I don't go to school, I'm a day behind. So. Listening to a bad teacher. My biggest mistake was listening to a old farm equipment mechanic that liked to cobble stuff, used gaskets, used parts. Not the best way to go, but that kind of gets instilled in you to do it as cheap and quick as possible. It's a bad mentality. That was probably the biggest mistake. Spend the extra money. I know it sucks, but in the long time, it's more expensive to do things twice. 48 by 64, 16 high. I was gonna do 40 by 60, but then at the time I was doing construction and my regular cab long box on a 16-foot trailer was 38 feet long, so I couldn't open the door at the back if I pulled straight in, so like straight in this way. So I went another 8 feet. Anything past 50 feet is a bigger bottom cord on the truss, which means that the cost of the trusses goes up significantly. Because I'm residential, the trusses are every 2 feet, so that's a huge cost. So 48 was as wide as I could go on 8-foot centers on posts, and then 64 made sense aesthetically from the outside and enough for one person to be comfortable in here without wasting too much space that you're heating for nothing. No. I was talking back of the chapters in your life. My one chapter in my life was a service truck, going on service calls, loved every minute of it, going into fields, going off-road, fixing snowplow equipment in the blizzard. That was back then. I did that, I enjoyed it. Now I love working in a nice heated shop, 75 feet from my house, and with couches upstairs. That's my stage right now. That little pick, the little snap-on pick that gets rad hoses off. It's got a little hook. Stick it in the hose, move it around. You break that seal, done. I mean, honestly, a Tape Boss. Tape Boss, 100%. I don't really plan to swap. I wait for opportunities that align with something that would make sense for that, if that makes sense. I walked through a scrapyard to find the frame for that the C10 is sitting on. The neighbor came in and said, I want that Commander. You can have anything in my yard. that is the cab for it. And at the same time, years before that already, one of our viewers said, I have an LB7 that I'm not gonna swap on anything. If you want it, it's yours. So 3 things right there. I didn't make the conscious choice to say I want an air ride bagged C10 sitting on like a modern chassis with a LB7. It's just those 3 things came together, and it only makes sense to put them together and build a truck. The Audi, same thing, turbos. I just happened to walk past a scrapyard truck. I saw the turbos, walked over, hey, compound setup, that's pretty cool. And then Project Car Challenge, we had the car lined up for a demolition derby, and that just all came together. And then it's like, oh, well, let's add another turbo, make it 4 turbos, do this, and then the evolution comes from there. It's not a conscious decision of this is what I want. There's a couple of those, but they haven't happened yet, because if you want it, it's expensive. If you come across it in your travels, it's a lot less expensive. I don't know, but maybe we'll be getting into some of these and we'll find out and make an educated guess or an educated response to that question. You know what the biggest problem with rebuilding EVs on YouTube is the Tesla crowd. They are something else. Anyway.
If you're gonna do it, don't do it online.
Don't do it online. Don't do it with a Tesla. They're crazy. If you think competition and brand bashing is bad between Dodge, Ford, and GM, you go join a Tesla club. All right, guys, thanks for watching that. Sorry it's a little tired or whatever. I'm nailing out the questions as quick as possible. I think we got through most of them. If you guys enjoyed that, there will be more. We spread them out so we actually have something to talk about. So the upcoming builds are just finishing up the loose ends on the GTO, some leaks to fix on the Mercedes, and then getting full tilt in the F350. F350 done, the C10 will be on the road, and then we'll get into my Silverado. Those are the plans in the next immediate future. We are going to talk about a new build that we bought, only because I need another shop to do some work for me, and I have to book them. So we'll be talking about that later. Very excited about that one too. Kind of a new little twist, still absolutely automotive, but different at the same time. Very, very excited about that. Other than that, thanks for watching, guys. Get out there, work on your own projects, and hopefully I motivated you guys to do that on the channel. I really appreciate every one of you guys watching and sticking around. 500,000, we're just about there, and that is huge. You have no idea how humbled we feel thinking that we've impacted so many of you guys. Appreciate it, appreciate you guys. Remember, if you're not filthy, you're not rich. So get out there. Here we go.